Hey guys, welcome to Approach the Nerd. We are talking Wandavision episode 9. Sorry for the few minute delay. There is some construction work going on outside my house, and I'm not done noise proofing this room or noise canceling this room. So there's that. So basically I'm still trying to work out the kinks of not getting the noise into my live streams. It's easier to do with a pre-recorded video, kind of hard to do with live video. But yeah, so let's talk WandaVision episode 9. Woo, what a ride. What a ride. Not a bad ending. I will say the nerd in me is a little underwhelmed, but at the same time, I can see the writers have a very hard job, especially with the MCU. I feel like everything that we had as nerd theorists kind of put a lot of pressure on their actual plot, because this is stuff they wrote prior to us even coming up with all these notions of Mephisto or possibly Grim Reaper and all of this. So I'm not going to put this down because it is very good. It's a very good series. I honestly wish that this is played out like a movie, because I kind of felt like if you put all of the episodes together, it would be like one long movie. And I do have a few nitpicks too. But overall, I was not disappointed because I feel like they're doing their own thing. And honestly, which we'll get to in a second, some of our theories that we had about Mephisto and everything else may still come into play in Doctor Strange too. So let's just jump kind of like right in. I don't want to do this as a recap. I just want to do it as a let's talk points here. So Agatha, which technically is kind of true to the comics. Again, if you know about the comic book, Agatha Harkness, she did boost her power by pretty much killing her familiar Ebony to she wanted to get cognitive ability, so she did that. We didn't have Ebony in this. Senor Scratchy or McScratchy, whatever she was calling him, Scratch. I'm a little disappointed that we never really got what the bunny was, because everyone thought it was either Ebony or could have been her son Nicholas Scratch, or could have, the name Scratch or Scratchy definitely plays into that could have been her son, meaning she had more motivation besides just wanting more power. But to be clear, in the comics, Agatha Harkness does have a power hunger as well. She's kind of an anti-villain in the comics. So, but she was also the teacher of Wanda. And I guess technically, if you look at this episode, she still was, because Wanda pretty much learned how to do the runes from her, which ultimately led her to defeat Agatha. She taught her what she was, being a Scarlet Witch. She taught her about witchcraft. Wanda wouldn't know about the Darkhold without her. So she, in retrospect, she was still Wanda's teacher in this, just not in the way we saw it in the comics. So that is a very interesting spin on that. Having Agatha be the big baddie of this series is interesting, but I will say the reason I still have hope that we may see Mephisto or someone else going forward in Doctor Strange 2 or other Spider-Man and other connected titles is because of, she said, you have no idea what you've unleashed or who you've unleashed. Now, could she be talking about the Nexus as a whole? Yes, because Wanda, again, is a Nexus being. Could she be talking about Mephisto? Yes, she could be talking about absolutely anything, the Nightmare Realm, everything. There's so many possibilities on what Agatha meant by saying that my inner nerd is screaming, okay, this is just the stepping stone to their version of House of M. So I can't 1,000,000,000% say we're still not in House of M, because yes, we don't have mutants, and I've been saying that since my first review, but that doesn't mean that we're not going to get some concept of it. I really wish, though, that when she was all powered up in this effing A Scarlet Witch, outfit, and she was draining Agatha's powers, I was like, that's comic book right there. I could see that in a panel. That was gorgeous. But I kept thinking to myself, it would have been really cool as in the moment of that, when she was draining Agatha's magic, if she had done what I really wanted her to do and say no more magic, therefore affecting Doctor Strange and everyone else. I thought that would have been very cool to segue into him, and him being one of the ones that lost his magic ability, kind of like in House of M, where certain mutants lost their powers and others didn't. I thought that would be very, very cool. But did not play out that way. Doesn't mean it won't play out that way, because again, Wanda is in Doctor Strange too, so we have no idea what she's going to do, but so much potential. And honestly, if I'm going to be real with you, I'm kind of glad that some of my theories didn't play out in this series, because it's almost like I've been writing a fanfic. It's just like they're catering to my fanfic that I've been writing about this series instead of doing their own crap. So I am not disappointed in this series. It's just the nerd in me is like, but it would have been so cool if they had done this. So completely different. I loved so many things. Let's talk about the fight between Wanda and Agatha. The part where she throws the car on her was straight out of the Wizard of Oz. That's like the Wicked Witch of the East. I love how she looked and you see like the feet sticking out. I thought that was really cool. The whole, like, all of their interactions, like even with Wanda trying to get in her head like she did in Age of Ultron, trying to, basically give her worst nightmare, and then Agatha turning it around on her, was pretty cool. I mean, Agatha's powerful. She's not Wanda, but she's powerful. So I did think that in itself was really cool. White Vision, the whole fight scene between Vision and White Vision was amazing to me. And it made me start thinking about a lot of things that happen in Endgame. Like the scene where Vision is like, or White Vision tries to take Vision's Mind Stone out of his forehead, which is what Thanos did in Endgame. And of course, they were like phasing through each other. And I was thinking, if only Vision had not been hurt in Endgame, every time Thanos went to grab that stone, he just phase. And then he wouldn't have been destroyed, and then Wanda wouldn't have gone crazy, and none of this would have happened. But I guess we needed that to lead to this. But the fact that I'm going to hold up my Star Trek communicator, the fact that Vision, Captain Logged, White Vision, was effing amazing to me. He was like, they're fighting each other. They realize, we can do this all day, but it's not really accomplishing anything. So let's use logic. And honestly, considering what Vision is, makes perfect sense that basically two computers were out logicking each other, having a logical conversation using data. That was effing amazing. But I want to know, now that White Vision has all of the data back, so he essentially has his version of memory, so he knows who he was and where he came from, at least what the Vision before him has been through. What does that mean for Vision? Will he essentially become the Vision we're used to? Is he going to become an advanced version of Vision? What exactly is going to happen? Will he find Wanda again? Where did he go? I have a lot of questions about that. Like, where did he go? Why didn't he try to find Wanda afterwards? Since technically he has all of Vision's memories, or the data version. He just doesn't, I don't know if he has the emotional connection yet, which is interesting, but I love that he reasoned with White Vision, and that White Vision made the same choice that the original Vision made. He doesn't want to be a weapon. I think that's really cool. I just want to know where the hell he went, because that is bothering me. But yeah, so one of the things I'm disappointed in is Monica. I love that we got to see her use her photon powers when the bullets were being shot, and how she flipped over Ralph, which I'll get to Ralph in a second. But I really wanted her to help in the fight with Wanda. And I get that this is a Wanda themed show and Wanda had to do this. I get it. Wanda had to take care of business. We needed to see how badass Scarlet Witch is, because we know this in the comics. We need to know this in the MCU. I get that. But man, how cool it would have been to have, Monica in on that fight. But I will say this, which I find interesting. She's very accepting of the fact that she has powers now. Like, there's never been a moment I've seen where she's been, how did I do that? How did I do this? She just jumped in front of that gun and was taking the bullets. And it wasn't like, it went right through me. There wasn't a concept or a moment where she just paused for a second to say, hey, I got superpowers now. Never a concept. It was really, really interesting. Yeah. But I really wish that Monica had a little bit more, in this finale, in terms of using her abilities and fighting. I would love to see it. And they're probably saving it up for Secret Invasion, because if you saw the end credit, the entire scene actually was really cool. To have a Kree person come, masquerading as a SHIELD agent, come to her. It's either, I think she was a SWORD agent, or she was Quantico. I can't remember which one she was, but I think she was a sword agent, and then coming in and she's actually one of the Kree, saying, he heard you were grounded and he wants to see you. Of course, she's talking about Nick Fury because he's in space. So that's pretty cool. So that's a tie into his series, which means Wanda will more than likely also be in the Nick Fury series. I am down with that. Monica, sorry. That is cool. Because we need to have, Photon or eventually Captain Marvel #2 or whatever. Technically #3. Is she #3? Because Shazam technically was #1. I need to go back and count. But having her in Secret Invasion, I'm down with that. I am down. Seeing Monica work with Sentry, because we know Sentry's more than likely in it because we have his belt, would be very cool. And I'm still holding out for the Illuminati, but that's a whole other conversation. But so I really like that end scene, but I really wish that Monica had done some kind of like just explosive, even if it was only for like 2 minutes, just like, even learning her abilities, just like freaking throwing down. That would have been cool. Help Vision if you don't want to help Wanda. But I'm not unsatisfied because, again, the scene where she was taking those bullets like a biatch, that was a very cool scene. So I'm not hating on it. I just wish we had more of it. I do love the fact that she tells Jimmy, though, authority looks good on you. Because when I heard that line, I was like, Atlas Foundation. Yes, they're going to do it. I mean, they're making him so competent. He came a long way from the last Ant-Man movie and I think he did a cameo in Endgame, but like where he is like picking the lock with a safety pin, and like the whole strategic thing. I want to say that he's already in the process of proving himself competent because, again, in the comics, he had to do that because back when Jimmy was like, being considered to be the next Atlas Foundation leader, the Atlas Foundation was like, well, as a Chinese American man, you need to prove yourself worthy to the world because they're not going to look at you being that you're Asian American. They're not going to look at you as somebody who's powerful. So we're going to create this whole scenario with Yellow Claw to make you competent looking and a badass. And I love that they're kind of making him a badass in the MCU, almost in the same scope. So I'm wondering, do we already have a Yellow Claw? Do we already have an Atlas Foundation? I mean, where is Jimmy in this process? I would love to know. I don't know if he's going to be in the Shang-Chi movie, but I think he should be because the Atlas Foundation would make sense in Coalition. But I absolutely love that. I love that. So, yeah. Let's talk about fake Pietro. Are we calling him Fake Tro? So I am a little disappointed that he's not a multiverse version of Quicksilver, but he's also not Ralph Boner. And the reason that I'm saying that is because if he was really Ralph Boner, he wouldn't have a headshot of himself in his apartment. So what I mean by this is, I don't know where you guys live, but do you have a headshot with your name like at the bottom, just sitting in your house under your unpaid bill? No. I think he's actually the witness in witness protection that Jimmy was talking about. I don't know his story. I don't know why he's in it. And I know that he was being controlled by Agatha's beads, but does that mean she gave him, super speed with that? Or did he just have super speed? Because again, we're getting mutants in this universe. Could he have already been a mutant? Maybe not Pietro, but somebody who had speed and she just used that? I don't know. It's very interesting. All of this is very interesting to me. But I've always wondered if this is going to be the segue where we get X-Men, but honestly, I don't know. I know a lot of people were overwhelmed by this. They were like, because at the end of the day, WandaVision is a love story. That's what it is. It is a love story. And a lot of people wanted to have a lot of their theories to be true. I mean, again, I do theories all the time. I'm used to them being right or wrong. So, I mean, I'm not going to be like devastated by this, but with the MCU, it's a different level because if you love the comics and you love the story, you read House of M and even if you read the Vision miniseries that's after the last Avenger, then you had an idea or a concept on what things were. What they should be. And so like this being more of a Wanda-centric, to me, it's a bio story for Scarlet Witch. That's what WandaVision is, and a love story between Wanda and Vision. That is what this is. I am not hating on it. I'm just saying that that's what it is. But I want people to know through my review That does not mean that all of these theories won't happen, because we still have crossovers. We could be building up the story. It would be very weird to have everything resolved in 9 episodes in terms of House of M. So I can't hate on that. I just can't. Okay, so we know Hayward is a dick. Like, did we really learn anything else other than his master plan and using white vision to clean up his mess? That's basically what it is. We want this weapon. We want to look like Wanda did all this. I need a scapegoat. That is literally, Hayward is just an ass. He is an ass. And I love that Darcy hit him with that truck. Now, I don't know why she couldn't have like 5 seconds in the last episode, because she was like, okay, did my scene. I'm out, and we'll probably see her in Secret Invasion too, but and Nick Fury's series. But yeah, I was just like, well, there's Darcy. Nope, that's Darcy's truck. But okay, she served her purpose. Peace. And that's so I was a little bit taken aback by that. If you hear some noise in the background, my daughter works from home, so she's decided during my live stream to make lunch. So yay, she's going to make all the noises. So please ignore the craze. But I really feel like WandaVision, again, being a stepping stone, it did resolve a few things, but also what it did for me is it opened up a bunch of questions. Like the scene at the very end, I think it was the second end credit with Wanda, and she's sitting there and she's making tea. But then you see in the other room, she's like sitting there with the Darkhold, like going through the book. And I'm like, is that happening simultaneously? Is that the nightmare realm? And then she hears her children, who are dead pretty much. They're uncreated at this point. She hears them asking and screaming for help. Now, I don't know if she's actually hearing them from the point in time where they were in the Hex, and she's trying to basically recreate them. And if she does that, is that what she uses? Is that the point where she uses Mephisto's soul shards to recreate her kids? I mean, yeah, that's adding an extra step, because technically that's what happened in House of M, and then they're reborn later with new parents, and then they have the memories of it. But I don't know. There's just so much. But I will say this, when you have the Darkhold, if you are a Charm fan, that is personal gain to the extreme. For you to use one of those spells, you have to sacrifice something. So something has to change. Something has to be sacrificed for you to use any of the spells in that book. So that's a problem. I don't know. There's so much they could do with this, guys. That's why I'm not looking at it as a disappointment. I'm looking at it as opportunity for a lot more coming forward in other series and other movies through MCU. But yeah, I don't know. There was so much to this episode. Like, I'm not unhappy. I'm kind of just waiting to see where all of this is leading to. And I think that's actually a good sign, because if I was sitting here writing this already and then they did what I wrote in my head, which normally happens in other shows and movies, then it's like a fanfic. And I'm like, I pretty much resolved the issue before you guys got to it. And so there's that. Let's see. I thought she was doing the same thing that Doctor Strange did while he was sleeping. More than likely that is what's happening. I actually love when Doctor Strange is able to do that. Astral projection is a very cool power. Yeah, she was astral projecting. But I just wanted to know, like, are we getting the Nightmare Realm? That would be so. I really want Pathfinder in this, even Goblin. Like, I really want an Alpha Flight connection. But again, I want, and you need to establish mutants, and you need to establish all of this stuff first. So it's like the timeline. I really wish they already had mutants in the MCU. I would have loved to see a spin on that. Like, what would this have been like had mutants been in it? Yeah, whatever. But it's the same Darkhold from the AOS series. I think so. Yeah, it's connected to Gideon and Symbol. Yeah, because he was the first, I guess, chaos magic wielder. And I'm pretty sure he was considered a Nexus being, because chaos magic means that you're or having chaos magic, reality bending or probability magic is considered Nexus being level. So yeah. More than likely it is. I'm pretty sure that's the same Darkhold. But I knew she was going to take it, because when she walked off from Monica, and Monica was like, they'll never know what you gave up for them. And she's like, well, I'm going to learn I don't know what these powers are, but I'm going to learn. I knew she was going to take that book. But let's talk about that scene where she was like, they're still not going to see me that way. I'm like, I get it in a way. I get that you unintentionally did that, but you still enslaved all of these people And these people were like walking around with all of your memories and all of your grief. And that is so messed up. And like that woman saying, my husband's out of town and can you tell him not to come back here ever? And I love him. And I'm like, why would you tell your captor that? like your captor's going to just go out and find your husband and say, hey, your wife said, don't come back here. But that was a really weird line. But yeah, the fact that Wanda was the one that was holding that entire town hostage and Agatha wasn't was ironic, because all Agatha wanted was the powers. That's it. She just wanted her power. She just wants all the powers. But yeah, let's see. Even worse than there was no Xavier or Magneto, I felt that this was a missed opportunity not to have mutants in this series. I know. I would have loved to see how this would have played out with mutants. I really think it would have been amazing. I think it would have been amazing. I'm not saying that this was bad. I'm just saying that it would have been very cool. It would have upped the game for me to have Xavier and them already established. I think that would be very cool. Now, Magneto would be interesting because they've already established that Wanda and Pietro are not Magneto's kids. At least they don't know they're Magneto's their father. Now to be fair, he could have like put them in an orphanage, and then this poor family that couldn't afford anything could have adopted them or found them, could have left these children on the doorstep. But I don't think that's the case in the MCU. I don't think that they're related at all. So, I think the one reality where Wolverine was their dad, that would have been fun too. I hope Wanda isn't deemed a villain. She has lost so much. She's going to be an anti-villain. It's because of the choices that she makes. It's not because she's evil. She just makes choices that she doesn't think the consequences through on. And then sometimes like this, the hex was unintentional because she doesn't understand her powers. So, I mean, unfortunately, even in the comics, because of House of M, a lot of mutants are still ticked at her for them, because she literally took their powers away. I mean, she changed all of their fates for a very long time, and they don't really like that. So she's not well liked in the comic world by other mutants and other superheroes. At the end of the day, she still has the heart of a hero and made some selfless decisions and has reached the acceptance phase. Although I hope she's careful with the people she wasn't evil. See, this is the thing. I've never been the biggest Wanda fan. I never really cared for her in the MCU, but this actually made me like sympathize with her a little bit. And I think that's what they were going for. It made me sympathize because as a mother, the fact that I have to put my children to bed knowing that they're about to be wiped out of existence, and you do that because it's the right thing to do to save the people of Westview and everyone else, that is the heart of a hero. So I did sympathize with her. She's lost a lot. It's just the choices that she makes are just hard to reconcile with, because these people, if they remember what happened, they are all going to be PTSD. They're going to need some serious effing like therapy. I mean, they're going to need therapy because you can't hold an entire town hostage and leave the memories with them and not have lasting effects. I mean, it's just a thing. You can't do that. So yeah. Even as a member of the Brotherhood, she was physically and mentally abused by Magneto and the Brotherhood. This is true. Yeah, but see, she didn't have that experience. Her trauma all comes from loss now. So like a lot of loss. But that also means, I will say, the fact that Agatha kept trying to offer her the perfect ideal world where you can, live with your family and I'll let you have this corner of the world. Just give me your power. And she didn't do it. Says that she does sometimes value protecting people and doing what's right over personal gain, which is why I hope the Darkhold doesn't reverse that in her. Because if she goes evil, they're going to have problems. No, I don't think you compare that movie and this series with each other, at least not faithfully. Oh, you're talking to Mercenary. I have to go back and read that. Even Pietro manipulated her in House of M. Everybody did. There were so many people that were messing with her, and all she wanted was to have a family and have vision. So I thought that was really, when you're mentally ill and then you have the power to do whatever you want. Like look at Jamie Braddock, Betsy, Betsy's older brother and Catherine Britain's older brother. He has really like amazing reality bending powers, but he was mentally disturbed because he was always overlooked for Brian, because the father always saw potential in Brian being the captain, being Captain Britain, and treated Jamie like crap. And so he became this like person that started off as neglect and then went on to like serious envy of his brother, then went on to rage, then went on to psychosis. And when you are a psychotic person with reality bending powers, you are dangerous. And see, that is what I think is happening in Wanda's world, only she's not psychotic. She's just, grief makes you crazy. I know this. I've been married before. I lost my spouse to cancer. I lost my mother years before that to cancer. So grief makes you into somebody who resents the world for a while because of the loss that you feel, and then you have to rebuild yourself. And that's the thing with Wanda. Wanda has nobody. Like, at least I had other family members. I had other people to support me. She has to do this by herself. So yeah, the Fate review is coming. I'm trying, like, it's done. I'm just trying to fix the rendering issue in Adobe Premiere. Something is going on with the file itself. It's cutting off in render, and I need to figure out what picture's doing it or what's doing it in this video. But it is coming. I'm sorry. I know it's late. Let me move up. Jamie hated pants. He really did. Are you going to do a stream of Raya and the Last Dragon? I just got premium access. That is what I'm watching tonight. My daughter's working till 7, so I'm trying to hold out for her. But yes, Raya and the Last Dragon is coming, because I can't live in a house with an Asian spouse and a half Asian daughter, and I'm part Asian, like very small, and not support the fact that this is a almost predominantly Asian cast. I am so excited for this, and it kind of reminds me of The Legend of Korra. And I'm a Korra fan, so... But, I digress. So let me go up because your comments are coming really quickly. I'm so sorry, guys. I was predicting Dr. Druid, played by Jackie Chan. He can still appear in Doctor Strange too, though. This is true. There could be a lot of people that are going to be in Doctor Strange too. I really have a theory on what is going to happen, especially in leading to the Utopian parallel. I really think, though, the whole thing with magic is going to be a forefront of that movie, especially now that Wanda knows she's a Scarlet Witch. Will she be an anti-villain in that? I don't know. She could be. And she could... The Darkhold could promise things, because the Darkhold is a very persuasive book. If she realizes she's a Nexus being and realizes she has access to the Book of the she has the Book of the Damned, there's a lot she could do. And there's a lot she can mess up. So... the sky's the limit on that, guys. The sky is the limit. So let's see here. Let me scroll up. Do you think Wanda is going to be the one to open the multiverse? Absolutely. I mean, as far as we know, she might have already done it. The comment that Agatha said, where she said, you have no idea what you've unleashed, could have been the multiverse. Because she is a Nexus being. The probabilities of reality are at her disposal, and she's the one that can actually affect the Nexus bridge, the point where all realities intersect in the comics. So for all we know, she's already done it. And we won't know until another movie or another show points it out, because that's how the MCU rolls. It's like that little moment that you thought you knew that happened in that show or that movie is very instrumental into everything else, and you didn't catch it because we made sure that it was so minute that you just didn't realize that's what was happening. So yeah, for all we know, it's probably already open. MCU Wanda and MCU Jean Grey are so similar. They used to be very similar. They are very similar. My dream fight, besides anything with Lady Shiva, has always been the Phoenix versus Scarlet Witch at full power. I really want to know. And I like Jean Grey more than Rachel Summers' version of Phoenix, even though I like Rachel, but I love, OG Jean as Phoenix, in full control of Phoenix, the entity, versus the Scarlet Witch. I would love to see the outcome of that fight. I think it would be awesome. I feel like Wanda has to die a couple of times to relate to Jean Grey. I mean, unfortunately, Wanda in the MCU, she doesn't die. Everybody around her dies. I mean, if you become her friend, you're like, well, the clock's ticking. It's kind of like Terry in King of Fighters whenever he has a girlfriend. Why do they all have to die? It's really funny, though. Until it was confirmed that Wanda, has property sourced from magic. Yeah. See, I don't remember in the comics. Like, I want to say in the comics, because guys, there's so whenever writers write a story, they pretty much retcon what somebody's done before. So, but I thought it was established in the comics that she wasn't a mutant. But I'm gonna have to go back and watch and look at that. I'm gonna have to, I'm gonna have to do that. Sorry. It would be nice to see Wanda cut loose. Not for them, it wouldn't, but yeah. I'm hoping that her little interaction with Monica gives them more scenes together in Secret Invasion, because now she has somebody she can talk to. Because quite frankly, as Endgame stands, who does she really have left? I mean, Captain is like old. He chose his best life. So he kind of, I'm just going to say it. He abandoned them so he can go back in time and get with Peggy. So, and then came back and gave the shield, to Falcon, which was pointless because he's not going to take it. So she doesn't have them. Tony's dead, even though she wouldn't talk to him. Vision's dead, who is basically her everything. Natasha's dead. We don't know where Hawkeye is. I mean, if you really just go down the list, I mean, I guess you could try and find, Hulk now, Professor Hulk. But who does she really have to talk to? She is alone. She is all alone. Honestly, she should have just hung out in Wakanda for a little while, like they did with Bucky. Just hang out in Wakanda, hang out with Shuri and them and talk about your problems, because she has nobody. So that's the problem with Wanda having reality probability powers, is that her powers seem to be stronger based on emotion, even though they're not obviously sourced by emotion. So she can really do anything to mess anything up, and it's completely unintentional, and it's all based on her freaking out. So she needs people, like supportive people in her corner to keep her grounded, and she doesn't have it. And the only little family she had that made her happy, her Pleasantville family, is now gone because the Hex is gone. So there's no one. And so unless White Vision comes and, and develops emotions to go along with the data memories, I don't know what they're going to do with that. I have no idea where White Vision went. More than likely, we'll see him again in the Secret Invasion. But he just flew off. He was like, all right, I got some memories. I'm out. I'm like, well, you were helpful. Before it was suspected that her probability manipulation was her mutant power, but they eventually expounded that it's chaos magic. That's what I thought. I thought that they had established that she wasn't a traditional mutant. So that's cool. I think House of M, from my memory, started because of an agreement with Dr. Doom. Yep, where she was about to channel for more chaos magic than she is usually capable of doing. Yeah, she started warping reality and like, which was so bad because you never notice in House of M when she warped reality, it's still, people still treated her like crap, even though she was like in control. Yeah, goes back to my point about emotions. Scarlet Witch and emotions, like, and her lack of control with her emotions is what chaos magic, I think, really is. As Doctor Strange is a Sorcerer Supreme, he will probably be able to sense a shift in the universe when the multiverse is open. Maybe his powers will start acting funny or will be going dark. I don't know. That's what I want. I wanted her to say no more magic, and then he lost his magic, and then he had to go on the quest, like in his comic series, where he just flew around, the multiverse, asking people to help him learn magic, which would explain to me how they would meet America Chavez, because he does go to the Utopian Parallel because the Demiurge is there. So, and the Demiurge being, Wiccan in the future is also very interesting to me. So, because that kid has powers, he's got powers. He becomes like almost Endgame when he grows up. I apologize if I'm wrong. I only saw the first couple of seasons of AOS, but I think there's already a small mutant population in the MCU. See, I don't know if they called them mutants though, because I don't think they had the right to say mutants. So they did have. And they never really went into the source of why these people had abilities, if I recall correctly. Because I know Daisy was an anomaly. Quake was an anomaly. She was, how she was born and where she came from is the opposite of DNA. So, or at least in terms of mutated DNA. So I don't know if they explored that fully. I'll have to go back and look. The last season, I didn't see the last 2 seasons of Agent of S.H.I.E.L.D. I saw episodes. I didn't see the last 2 seasons, so I'm a little behind on that. But I would like to go back and just look at the lore of how these people have powers in AOS, because it seemed like the later the seasons went, the further away they got from the MCU. It almost became their own universe, like their Earth split. I thought they became a different Earth, but I'll have to go back and look at that. But if we have the multiverse and the Nexus and the Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. did become their own Earth, where they're separate from everyone else and kind of retconned a little bit, then her opening up that Nexus means the multiverse is created. We will get Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D., at least Daisy and some of the other ones. It would be kind of cool to have Agent May in the MCU. Do you think Monica is a mutant or a mutate? She's a mutate. She wasn't born. Well, it really depends on how MCU defines mutants. Is it comic book tradition where it's basically, a strand of your DNA is mutated and gives you this ability? Or are mutants people that were affected through some kind of change, like with no fault of their own, like an incident, kind of like how Spider-Man got his abilities? Because a lot of people argue, is Spider-Man a mutant? But I think he's more of a mutate because he wasn't born with the DNA and the RNA factoring for this. It was evolved through a substance or a bite, a chemical or a toxin in his body. So depends on how they define mutants in the MCU, because we don't know. Until they do it, we have no idea. And if they retcon all of the X-Men, they'll have their own version of X-Men and their own story, different from the Earth that the previous X-Men movies were set on. So it gave me a thing. But whenever I watched the X-Men movies, I always thought they were on different Earths from each other. So they weren't connected to me at all. They just had similar people. A lot of the superheroes shown in AOS got their abilities due to accidents and stuff, like Graviton and Mr. Hyde. That's what I thought. I didn't think that they traditionally were what we consider to be mutants. But again, I don't know how the MCU is going to define mutants in this universe because they haven't done it yet. So be interesting. I really wonder if they're going to bring Sir Patrick Stewart in as an older version of Xavier. Are we going to go with the younger version? I don't know. That would be interesting. That's a good thought of. I kind of like the idea of a more seasoned Xavier working with Doctor Strange, especially if they do the Illuminati. I think that would be amazing. I don't know if that's going to happen, but that would be cool for me. But I don't know if that's what's going to happen. In Runaways, it was red, and in AOS, it was blue. So the new look doesn't really matter much. Just another version of the books, The Haters. What are we talking about? The being in the Darkhold, because there's more than one kind of Darkhold. Anyway, there are multiple Dark. Oh, okay. Is the Runaways considered MCU canon? I don't know if they're connected. I know they're connected to. Well, actually, I don't know. I really don't know if they're connected to any of the MCU properties. So they could be their own Earth. Because remember, and I always bring this back to America, but in some versions of America, that story, America Chavez's story, Nico was her adopted sister. Like they were raised by a female version of Loki. So I don't know if that, like Cloak and Dagger and all that are connected in the Hulu version of the Marvel properties, just like the Defenders or the Netflix versions of the Marvel properties. But do they intersect in the MCU? I have no idea. I have absolutely no clue if they're going to consider Runaways canon. Or are they going to do their own thing? But we're going to Young Avengers anyway. But I don't know. I don't know. My casting for MCU Xavier is Bryan Cranston as a meta, and Wanda can be like, hey, I saw you on TV. That would be cool. What's the Illuminati? They are a group that is formed during Secret Invasion. It has a lot of really cool members, and it has I think Reed Richards in it. I have to go back because they have a big Fantastic Four presence, which is why I think we're getting the Fantastic Four movie. But it has Xavier, it has Doctor Strange, it has Sentry. Some of the most powerful people they come together in their own group to set crap right during Secret Invasion. And I think that's where we're heading because we have Sentry's belt. I really, really want to see a live action Illuminati because that series was cool to me. I liked the Illuminati. Yeah, it's excitement for me. I don't know if it's going to happen, but it's giving me hope because I saw Sentry, and Sentry makes me excited that could happen. Beast is in it. There's so many members in it. Like they had they're like powerhouses in this. Dawn of X shows that mutants are far more older than we think. Yeah, it's strange that mutants can be undetected all the time only to show up in the MCU continually all of a sudden. Well, remember, the MCU right now doesn't have mutants until I think we have the multiverse established. Because as far as this world is concerned, the people that have powers are all due to Hydra and, accidents. So anyone born, a mutant is going to be an entirely different scenario. It's just like the whole thing with America Chavez. And I'm just bringing this up a lot because she's in Doctor Strange too. And her power source is the Demiurge, which we know is eventually going to be Wiccan. Now, there is somebody who's a Demiurge right now, and it just seems that it picks its next, the next person it goes to. So think of like, Dax in if you're a Deep Space Nine, or any type of, body, anybody who basically is the host for something. That is what is a host scenario. They usually pick people that have a lot of power and a lot of potential. So like with America, with her being in Doctor Strange too, then it established is that there's already a Demiurge. Now, whether it's Wiccan already from the future, because they never established if his timeline is like, okay, I was Wiccan, and then I'm also Demiurge simultaneously. I'm also the Demiurge in the past. They don't establish like the timelines of the Demiurge. We just know that they're like the source of the utopian parallels power. And they created the I think two of the what is it called? The energy gods, and like there's a long list of stuff that Demiurge has done. But they are the source of all of the utopian parallel. They created the utopian parallel. They are the basis of their abilities. I don't know how that plays in, but I think it's interesting. So like you're dealing with a multiverse. Let's be real. You can really do whatever the hell you want. But I will say this. I did not like how Endgame defined time travel, only because they made it seem like there was no consequence at all for anything that happened in time traveling. And then that poses issues for me. But that could be because I grew up watching Doctor Who, like Tom Baker and a bunch of other time traveling shows. I love Back to the Future. So you're programmed to say, hey, if you do this, it leads to this. Quantum Leap, like all these, even Sliders, all of these different shows that deal with time traveling, reality traveling, and, different reality bending, things teach you that things have consequences. But the MCU has established that doesn't exist in the MCU lore. So like you can do whatever you want in time and it affects nothing. It just makes a different timeline. The choice you make split into a different timeline. So that creates multiverse after multiverse after multiverse. And then I guess the Nexus opening up means that you have reign to see all these multiverses, but that also poses a problem for me because that means you can see yourself making the opposite decision. It just seems very convoluted. So I did have a problem with that. I was not happy with how that went down. But yeah. Kamala Khan is getting her own movie. She's a prominent Inhuman. That's true. The Inhumans are coming. I forgot about that. So that's cool. It breaks my heart to think about the show, though. Want to see it too, but I pray knowing what they are doing this time around. So what did you guys think of the series as a whole? Were you disappointed? Like, did you feel like I know a lot of people, when I watched it this morning, I was thinking, I wonder how many people were underwhelmed by the ending, because quite frankly, like none of our theories about Mephisto, even the Grim Reaper or any of that came true. And I think what was so interesting for me is how many Easter eggs they put in for Mephisto and Grim Reaper. Incorporating Sparky is probably the number one Grim Reaper thing for me, because him dying behind that bush, and then in the comics, him dying, digging up Grim Reaper's, sky and electrocuting him. It actually wasn't him. It was the neighbor's dog, and then Sparky wasn't even real. But I just thought that was interesting to have all of these moments that we see in these different comics as an Easter egg, but never came to fruition. It's like nothing came of it. It's like, yeah, that's definitely Grim Reaper, and Senor McScratchy, definitely look at Scratch, or maybe even Ebony. All of these Easter eggs from the comics that were just like, we just do that in there to F with you. Like, that's what we did. It's what we did because this is Wanda's story. Like, so yeah, what did you guys think though? I really want to know. My fan cast for older Tommy and Billy are Dylan and Cole Sprouse. Dylan and Tommy, and Cole as Billy. I feel like they fit the characters' personalities so much, especially when they were on Sweet Life. I could see that actually. Which one plays Jughead, I think, in Riverdale? I can't remember which twin that is. I could see that though. I mean, I really could see them playing that. Does the other brother still act? I'm confused. let's see. Emma in this comics was able to wipe out knowledge of mutants from the entire world during the recent Uncanny X-Men run. She literally made the entire world forget mutants were a thing. Yep. I mean, whispering no more mutants and then just. But when she said no more mutants, not every mutant lost their abilities. That's what's interesting. So it wasn't like everybody just suddenly stopped being a mutant. It just picked. And I always wondered what was the prerequisites for you losing your powers. Because I love Danielle Moonstar in the comics. I loved her fear ability and that she has fear-based powers, but she lost hers. And I wonder why. Like, I wonder what was it that made her lose her abilities, but so many others didn't. Like a wind dancer lost her powers. It's interesting. And I know it was random. I just wonder what it was. What, like when we saw Thanos snap and then 50% of the population was gone, what made those 50 people more likely to leave than the other 50%? Or, you know what I mean? It's just, I wonder what it was. It's interesting. Scrolling up. Sorry, guys. Trying to get to... Gifted is Fox first. I doubt they'll revisit that canon. Yeah, I don't think we're going to get... Well, we could get reinventions of gifted characters. I would love to see Polaris in MCU. I really want Lorna to be in the MCU. Will they do it? I don't know. But I will say, I wish, because, I've been pushing for Blue Marvel to be the physicist that they were talking about. I wish we'd actually gotten the name of the actual physicist, because as somebody pointed out during, I think 2 reviews or 3 reviews ago, that the lady that Monica goes and sees to get the modified truck to try and get through the hex may not have been the physicist. It might have just been somebody who was delivering it and was a captain. So I'm still holding out that actually is Blue Marvel, even though they didn't say his name. I don't know, guys. I feel like there's so much they could have thrown in just to make, a little bit more, nerdy-gasms for us. But I kind of also get, again, that the writers are trying to go to a bigger picture. But they put a lot of effing Easter eggs in this. I mean, why was, Grim Reaper's helmet underneath the table in the second episode opening of their show? There's so many things they did that it was kind of like leading to this could be happening and this could be happening, just for it to be a love story between Vision and Wanda's awakening as Scarlet Witch, which is what this was. Yeah. I'm happy to hear you that you liked it. May I ask what you enjoyed about the show? Well, Amy, I love your name, Amy Pond, because my middle name, Amelia, is actually after Amy Pond in Doctor Who. I changed my Maria actually was my middle name, so I changed my middle name to my first name, and then added Amelia from Amy Pond as my middle name. So my name is Maria Amelia Park. So me and you're going to be best friends today, because I'm loving your Amy Pond name, because I love Amy Pond. I loved a lot about this series. I love that we got more character development for Wanda. I love that we got to see Vision again, because the chemistry between Tom and Elizabeth in real life is amazing. I love that we are basically got the basis and the beginning story for Photon, eventually Captain Marvel, Monica Rambeau. Anything with Monica Rambeau in live action form is going to be amazing to me, because I like the character. I love that we're getting a different take on Wiccan and Speed. I love the fact that Wiccan and Speed got to use their powers, in the finale. I actually love that team up, because I feel like that's just foreboding, young adventures, our young Avengers. I feel like that is something we're going to get to see, because it's also reminiscent of how Wanda was with Pietro, in Age of Ultron. So I am very appreciative that we did get all of these backstories. I'm still trying to figure out Agatha's role. Like, I know why she was there. I know why she was attracted to it, because she could sense the magic. I know what she wanted. I'm still trying to figure out her overall purpose besides just getting power, because I don't want to say 1,000,000,000% that it was just her being power hungry. But I do like the fact that we got such an obscure character, because yes, Agatha Harkness was a very powerful witch. If you recall, she was the one that had to take Wanda's memories of her children away after Mephisto absorbed them, because Wanda was like literally going to lose her stuff, and she's like an atomic bomb for reality. So, you need to make her forget. So she was actually the person that ended up helping Wanda the most. and I guess about this series, what I did love, and I said this earlier, is that technically Agatha unintentionally helped Wanda become Scarlet Witch by telling her, by her attacking her, by her giving her her backstory, and by her, telling her who she's supposed to be, telling her about the Darkhold, telling her how to work the runes. She essentially not only educated Wanda as a teacher, she also contributed to her own, downfall. And the fact that her fate was being something that she hated, which was powerless and not in control, was very ironic, because Wanda making her the role she chose for herself in that town is funny. The nosy neighbor. Nobody will mess with you. So there's a lot that I do like about this series. And there's just some things I have questions. I also really like the fact that they're playing, they're showing us a better version. I don't want to say better. That sounds horrible. They're showing us a more visually competent, because I think this character's been competent, Jimmy Woo, than we are used to seeing in MCU. He's not just there for comedy relief and playing off of Ant-Man. He's got skills. He's extremely intelligent. And honestly, I kind of feel like he's already, either aware of the Atlas Foundation or running that and training to run the Atlas Foundation. And if he's not, that is probably one of the biggest missed opportunities of this entire thing, because I don't feel like you should be playing this character up who obviously going to be in Secret Invasion and not give him, more cool shit to do. Hey, Approach the Nerd. I think Agatha was there to give Wanda would be a teacher in the wrong one. Yeah, exactly. There's no way Agatha was not the teacher. If I was a villain and I wanted your power, I'm not telling you shit. I'm not gonna be like, so yeah, these runes, every time you use these runes, then that means you're the only one in the room that can use magic. Oh yeah, and also, do you know who you are? Let me go to page 173. It says you're the most badass witch of all time. Like, I would tell you nothing. Nothing. I would just be draining your butt from on the down low. Every time you use your abilities, I'm sucking it in. Like, nothing. She set up her own downfall. She literally talked too much. If you want to ask me, Agatha's biggest flaw is that she runs her freaking mouth too much in this series, and that's why she lost everything. But it's funny because she did end up being a very good teacher for Wanda, and Wanda is a very fast learner. I love your name too. Thank you, Amy Pond. I want Luna Snow and Songbird. Yes, someone in there. I want Wave. I love Wave. I would love to have Wave. And we need to have like more Filipino representation in the MCU. I mean, there's just a lot they could do. There's a lot they could do. If everyone thinks that Captain America is hot, I wonder how they'll respond to properly casted Warpath. James Proudstar makes me question my sexuality, even though I'm straight. Dude, it's too handsome. I love that. I love that. Yeah, I would love to have an X-Force like tie-in. I always thought X-Force was a very interesting series, but I love Polaris. And then we get like a crazier and then stable, then crazier, then stable version of Alex or Havoc. Yeah, so much they could do. So much. Agatha called Wanda cruel, but I disagree. I don't think she's cruel. If she was cruel, she would have killed her. But now she can't hurt anyone again. No, I don't think that Wanda is cruel. And I do love that she tried to save those people. The only thing that stopped her was her kids and her, technically a husband, were disappearing. And they were being, that's kind of horrible to think about. As a mother, like, who has a daughter and who's happily married, I couldn't see myself like closing this hex, knowing that my child and my spouse, their skin and their whole existence are just going to slowly fade away. It's not even quick. If you watch stuff like Sailor Moon, yeah, I just did it. I did that. I just called on Sailor Moon, and I'm about to go a little weirder. Have you ever watched the live action version of Sailor Moon, Pretty Guardian Sailor Moon? When Chicky, as Princess Serenity, Princess Moon, whatever, when her man died and she wanted everybody to go. Everybody was wiped in the instant. All you saw was a white light. Bam, the whole world was gone. It was so fast you didn't realize you were dead. But in this version, it's slow. Like you saw all the pieces flying. And I mean, when they went and tucked their kids in and they closed the door, that was the last time they were ever going to see their children, and they knew it. And I know why they did that. They couldn't watch their children suffer, and they couldn't watch their children just disappear. And Wanda couldn't handle watching them and Vision disappear all at once. And her having to sit there just knowing that the hex was getting closer and closer to disintegrating near their house and just taking her family away. That is so messed up. That is so messed up. That is probably the most powerful scene. And like, I love what they were saying to each other, you're the mind stone, that lives within me. You're my memory. You're my hope, my grief, everything. You're basically everything. That just messed me up. that I'm blobbering idiot. I'm just like, oh, why are you doing this? I mean, I was so hoping that when Vision and White Vision were talking to each other, they would merge. Like, it's like all of the essence of the hex version of Vision that was recreated by Wanda went into the body of the White Vision that, asshole created. And I'm not even going to call him by his name anymore. We're just going to call him asshole. But it didn't. And so now we have a White Vision that has these memories, like data memories, and knows all about Vision and Vision's values, but no emotional connection. There's no emotion yet. He doesn't have it yet. So I think he blew up because he doesn't know what to do with it. What is going to make Vision the Vision that we knew, pre-Endgame? So much. I mean, there's a lot you can take from this, but I think a lot of people probably are so underwhelmed that their theories didn't come true that they're going to be kind of, a little salty for a while. There might be some haters. I haven't watched anybody's reviews yet. I'm kind of scared. I always do my stuff first before I go look and see what other people are saying. I'm like, I already know. I already got theories. It's going to be bad. There's going to be some bad reviews out there. The most promising thing about WandaVision, in my opinion, is that based on the quality of the story, we can expect great things from other properties like Fantastic Four and X-Men. Absolutely. This is literally the stepping stone to cooler stuff. It is. And I mean, frankly, when you go back and watch Wanda and she's like draining Agnes and she's got her hair it looked like she came out of the comic book. I mean, that whole scene where she's standing there as Scarlet Witch gave me chills. And I love that the Scarlet Witch halo, I'm calling it the halo, not a crown. I call it the halo, just kept appearing above her head. I mean, that is effing cool. And it shows you just how badass Scarlet Witch is. Because I've always said Scarlet Witch was, like, to me, one of the Endgame characters. I mean, because she is. I mean, if you have any type of a reality bending ability, probability ability, and if you were considered a Nexus being, there's not a lot you can do to really stop someone when they lose their shit. So there's that. He's gonna go find himself. So White Vision's gonna go find himself. It's cool. Like, we all need to do that at some point. Let me look up. It's just unfortunate because, here we go. Sorry, I skipped a part. I think the most disappointing thing about WandaVision is the reality of the story. House of M was a singular event for mutants. It's a shame that mutants were not in the story, but that's no fault of the show's writing or the characters. It's just unfortunate because those circumstances were out of everyone's control. Now, let's be clear, we don't know that House of M still isn't coming because we don't know what she's doing in Doctor Strange 2. Again, she's hearing her boys cry for help. She's going to try to probably bring them back. This ties into House of M when she takes the soul shard from Mephisto. We don't know what she unleashed because Agatha said, you have no idea what you unleashed. She could be talking about the multiverse. She could be talking about, Mephisto. I can't rule Mephisto out because he is the devil of the MCU and he is everywhere and he exists even in that continuity. So just because they're not talking about him doesn't mean he's not there. I think they're focusing, though, right now on Secret Invasion. It's hard to do simulplots well. And we learned this with the last Spider-Man 3 movie. And hopefully we won't learn this with this Spider-Man 3 movie. But it is very hard to do simulplots. So I can't rule it out. And if they do address it or leave it, I would not I would not be surprised that if an end credit scene is when we see Wanda bring her boys back of Doctor Strange 2. But since everything is connected, like all of it's connected, the multiverse has to come into play. There's no reason having a Nexus being if you're not going to have a Nexus. Just what it is. Nexus beings, entities, cosmic powers, all endgame characters. Absolutely. Maybe special effects might differ. Pacing is also going to be different, but WandaVision did have some great ideas. So to me, it shows the MCU is not running out of ideas. They have numerous, and as far as I'm concerned, they have a plethora of plot lines and stories they can always, just shift in. Because we know that Kong the Conqueror is coming. That's going to be interesting. And again, since Sentry's coming, that's going to be interesting with his storyline and with the Fantastic Four. There's so much they could do. I am still upset. If I'm upset about anything, it is the milk carton having the missing child. I really wanted that to be Revan Stu's son, because again, that's who went up against Mephisto and who separated his soul in the first place. And I'm like, and I can't even say that that's still not a thing. That could still absolutely be a thing. So we don't know. And that's why you can't get upset fully about this series, because we don't know where they're leading. And I think if you get upset now, you're going to look really stupid later on when they start, really evolving the story that you wanted in the first place. They're just not giving it to you right now. So yeah. Hi, Nicholas. Let's see. I think she will ask Strange for help in getting the kids back, and she has to redeem herself somehow. True. Now, I don't know if Strange will do it, because, he doesn't they don't like to interfere with events. So I don't know how that would work out if she is going to him for help for that. I mean, like I said, my dream plot was her whispering at the end after she drained Agatha and said, no more magic. And she said, no more magic, then all of these different people, and it affect people randomly. And Doctor Strange lost his magic, and, he was desperate to get it back, and they had to go on this quest like he did in the comic. That would have been effing cool. And I would have been down with that. And it also would have put him out of the game, so he couldn't help as much with a Secret Invasion. But I don't think that's going to happen, because again, Doctor Strange is in the Illuminati. So I think that is what's going to happen. It's going to lead to him being in the Illuminati. Whatever happens, I think is going to end up with the Illuminati. Hopefully. I don't know. Another missed opportunity if it doesn't. But yeah, you never know. Going up. Hi, Kevin Jones. See you popped in. Welcome to the stream. We've been having fun talking to all the things. Let me move up. Sorry, you guys. This thing loves to go. I feel like my ultimate nemesis is the chat box in StreamYard, because as soon as I get somewhere, it's like, nope, can't have it. Scrolling up. Okay. I apologize if I am wrong of only seeing the first couple of seasons of AOS, but I think it's already a small mutant. Okay, I think I already read that one, Amy. Sorry. Yeah, that's my problem. See, trying to keep on track with the comments, and it's hard, but it keeps moving. Keep Will Smith away from the MCU. Wilbert Robinson. Yeah, I can see that. But I mean, isn't he in Suicide? Okay, that's actually DC though. Did he play anybody? He wasn't in Marvel at all, was he? Who would he be? Unless Aladdin comics or Aladdin, they start doing Aladdin graphic novels, and then he can be Genie. He wasn't bad as Genie in Aladdin. I liked him in Aladdin. But yeah, I don't know who he would be in you. Because I know a lot of people wanted Keanu Reeves to be Moon Knight. And that didn't play out. So at least as far as I know. He is a good actor, though he was in Suicide Squad, I thought. So see, I never watched the first Suicide Squad movie. I don't know why. I did watch the Harlequin Emancipation Bird of Prey movie, which is pretty much the Harlequin movie. But I didn't watch that one. So I have no skin in that game. I couldn't tell you if it was good or bad. I just didn't watch it. I am going to watch the new one because the cast looks amazing. But yeah, I've never watched it. So I don't know how he was in that. I don't know who he played. I wasn't paying attention. Was he who was he? Who was he in Suicide Squad? He could be a good mutant. I just want to know who people think he would be. I don't want him as Blue Marvel. He can't be Blue Marvel. That is not who he will be. Good topic. I want Enchantress back, but in the MCU. Yep, Suicide Squad did her no justice. I think they should reinvent a lot of characters. Okay, let me go up here. Was I the only one that's hoping that once the twins get deleted by Wanda after she took down the Hex, we unseeing as she's now playing with the Darkhold, I'm scared she might release Chthon and okay, see that's what I thought too. I think she's gonna start the whole House of M via the Darkhold. Because I think she's gonna use Mephisto's soul shards there. Because I think that's how we're gonna get Mephisto. Is all of that. Because she's gonna need something to bring. You can't just. I mean, I guess technically they made it so she can conjure stuff out of thin air because she made vibranium out of thin air. I don't know how the hell she did that with with Vision, but it's so much, guys. If you really just sat here and thought about every direction, you've created your own multiverse in your head because there's so many plots that have different Earths in your head. They could go and they diverge, and it's enough to make you insane. Is he going to be in Suicide Squad 2? No, I did not see Will Smith in that cast, so I know that is not true. So he was Deadshot? Wow. Okay. Yeah, that's one of the DC movies I didn't see. Or DC movies I haven't seen. I haven't seen that one. There was a rumor a while back that Will would be Xavier and Denzel Washington would be Magneto, and they'd change the story to center it around civil rights instead of the Holocaust. As interesting as that is, I used to be a big Denzel Washington fan. I'm probably about to get some hate here. I don't really pay attention to him anymore because as a queer woman in an LGBT marriage, he has said some very problematic things about marriages like mine and people like me. So when I start seeing your politics, I don't really care for you anymore. Just like I love Galaxy Quest. I love the movies, but seeing some of the problematic stuff that Tim Allen has said, I'm not the biggest fan of the actor. I won't stop watching the movie, but I don't really care for the person anymore. So having Denzel Washington coming, I guess having Denzel as Magneto would make sense because he's not a likable guy. Yes, he's motivated by trauma like everybody else. But I kind of feel like that would be a downer for me having him in that role. And that's just me speaking. I'm speaking truths. But what's the guy's name in Empire? I always forget it. It's Terrence something, right? I would love to see him as Magneto. Him as Magneto would be badass. I could see him as Magneto. That would be cool. But I wouldn't have Will Smith as Xavier if I was going to go. If I was trying to cast black actors, I would not cast him as Magneto. As Xavier. I think I would cast Morgan Freeman as Xavier because I really feel like he would be a badass Xavier. And having Morgan Freeman talk crap with an aged version of Terrence Howard. Thank you. Terrence Howard would be very cool to me. I could totally see Terrence Howard as Magneto talking shit to Morgan Freeman. I think that'll be cool. I really do. I know he was Rhodey. I know, but he's not anymore. And this would not be the first time that they've actually cast somebody else as someone else in another universe. So they could reinvent him. They just could. But I just feel like that would have been really cool. But yeah. Yeah, he was. He was already in. You're right. He was the original Rhodey. But I really don't think that would be a problem because again, they would need to age him to Morgan Freeman's level. So he wouldn't even look the same. He would be an aged version of Magneto. And I think that would be very cool. I think that would be very, very cool. I'm just throwing it out there. One of my visions, guys. Didn't he leave because he had issues with one of the studios or something? I have no idea. I wish I knew more about what they do behind the scenes, but then that takes energy and time. And sometimes I just don't care. I don't care enough about your life. As long as you're good in the series or the movie, I don't care. Has he been embroiled in troubling domestic violence disputes? Wow. Yeah, I haven't been keeping up with any of that stuff at all. The only thing I think I've been keeping up with, I haven't really been keeping up with has been happening with the whole Amber Heard thing either. So, and Johnny Depp, I kind of put that on the back burner. I'd stop talking about it. I do need to do a news show, guys. We need to do another nerd stream because a lot of stuff has come out and then we need to talk about it. I just got to schedule it in. This is why I don't watch celeb news anymore. Yeah, it's too confusing and too stupid. I just don't bother with it. I think watching the idiot that was our former president on TV talking crap all the time, it really put me off celebrity news, because it's like these their lives have no consequence on me. Trump technically did, just because of all the stupid he was doing. And when you get exhausted watching that, getting angry about it, getting annoyed by it, actually living in your head saying, is this real life? Watching celebrities do shit it's just too much. We're in a time when we just can't focus on what people do and in their personal lives or in the limelight that make a hell of a lot more money than most of us do. I don't care. I just don't care what you do. I really don't. Wanda is literally the last and only thing in existence that can be seen as a sub-mind stone. This is true. But how, I said this really early in the stream, guys. How interesting was it? Because I remember Vision was stabbed in Endgame. So he was very, very hurt. And that, you remember the whole thing where, you know, Thanos was trying to get them on, and then of course him having to be destroyed by Wanda just to be brought back and have, you know, reality, and then having the Mind Stone taken. I was just thinking, if he'd only had the ability to phase, he just kept phasing. Like he'd go to grab the stone, he just phase and he just phase and he just phase. And I understand that the reality stone could have still been used, but I mean, I just thought that would have been interesting and probably would have prevented a lot of crap. But then I always thought in the Endgame, if Captain Marvel had just been able to just knock him the hell out without him hitting him with the stone, that would have been cool too. Because Captain Marvel showing up and him hitting her and her looking like, really, that is one of the coolest scenes to me in that movie. But yeah. I will only accept Will Smith as Nighthawk, nothing else. Okay, I could see that. I could see him as Nighthawk. He probably want to be somebody else though. He want to be somebody, I don't know. I don't know Will Smith personally, so I don't know what he's like. Obviously I don't pay attention to him and the interviews. Again, I don't have time for that. I have my own life to lead. But I kind of felt from just how I've, you know, seen his acting and the stuff that he's picked, you know, property wise, and that he's more of a lead character, leading man. So he would want to be someone that kind of led the movie and led the show. And I don't know if they would give that to him with Nighthawk, unless they did a Nighthawk movie. No, just throwing that out there. Idris Elba needs to be recast in another role. I could see Idris Elba as Xavier. That would be cool too. Oh, I would love that. I'd love to see him as Bishop. Okay. Why not? He'd be like a Terminator version of Bishop, like more Terminator than Bishop was. I could see that though. I could see that. Do you think that there's a way for us to get the Marvelous beat down in the near future? Because Monica looks like she's ready to throw hands. I know the second Carol is in the vicinity. I think there's going to be a lot of problems, because since Nick Fury called her to our wonderful station in space, that means there's more opportunity for her to run across Carol now, because that's pretty much where Carol normally is, running around the galaxy. So that also puts her in contact with Guardians eventually too, which I think is cool. But yeah, I really think that the hate that she's got against Carol, it has to do with her mama getting cancer. And she either got cancer on a trip or a mission with Carol, or she got cancer and Carol was too busy to come see her mother before she died. But she got some beef with Carol. And I think it actually has to do with her getting cancer, because if you remember when she first came back after the snap, it had been 3 years. She thought it was like an hour or not, like 30 minutes or whatever. And she thought her mother was still alive, and she still had problems with Carol. So, or already had problems with Carol. So I think that her mother getting cancer probably is why she's mad. Something went down on one of their missions. Because remember when she was going through the hex and her cells were being rewritten for the last time, you heard the conversation where Nick was like, you know, Nick Fury was talking and telling her, you know, to learn to glow like your aunt. And the whole thing between her mother and Carol, and the conversation where Carol was trying to convince Maria to go into space, and her saying she didn't want to just leave her daughter. And then Monica saying, oh, I'll just go stay with my grandparents. Basically, I can just fly out there and meet you halfway. That tells me that is the conversation where her mom actually went out, in space with Carol. And since she is human, she doesn't have the protections that Carol has. I think she got exposed to some kind of radiation, and that's how she got cancer. And I think that is why Monica is mad at Carol. That is what I believe. Now, whether that's true or not, I mean, if you remember the last Spider-Man movie, they were even talking about how they don't really bother Captain Marvel. So I don't know. There's a lot to that. There's a lot going on with Captain Marvel. But we will learn about it in the next movie. Maybe Wanda brings her kids from another universe to the MCU, and that breaks the multiverse, requiring Doctor Strange to intervene. Could be. Again, she has a Darkhold. She literally could use... She just needs to take from something. But when you use the Darkhold, there is always a consequence. It's like Personal Gain in Charmed, only extreme. Like, I'm going to bring this person back, and in retrospect, I just basically killed half the world. You know, there's always a price to pay with the Darkhold. So, I don't know. There's a lot of possibility, but I love the idea of her starting House of M now, going into Doctor Strange too. I figured the radiation that her mother was exposed to while fighting alongside Captain Marvel is the reason she got cancer. That's what I thought. I think this is why she's mad. I think this is why Monica is really pissed. And I also think it probably didn't help that more than likely Carol was too busy out, saving, different, races and running all these missions, and probably never had time to come back and see Monica or her mom while her mother was fighting cancer. And I think that overall made this nasty relationship between the two. Because at the end of the first Captain Marvel movie, Monica was like 100% pro Aunt Carol, and now you see she's like, I can't stand that B. She come over here, I'm gonna smack the A out of her. So things change. Fury probably parent trapped them. Yeah, more than likely. Casting Idris Elba as Hemda is the equivalent of using legendary Excalibur to chop some onions. I mean, I guess you're not wrong, but still, come on. That was funny. For real, Vision had one job, which was to be Vision, phase and Mind Stone Beam Blast. That's all he had to do. But I mean, they needed him to go. They needed to have a reason for Wanda to snap. She wasn't gonna snap with anybody else. She just didn't seem to. She's not connected to anyone else. Wanda is alone, and it's sad. She has no connection with anybody. Like when we see Falcon and Winter Soldier, they're not gonna give a crap about Wanda. And they all fought together. They just it's interesting. It's very interesting. I mean, and I'm looking at it from this perspective. Yes, I was not happy with the original Justice League movie we just got, but at least Bruce Wayne bought the bank and gave back Martha Kent's house so Clark's mom could live on the farm again. There was some connection there. This one's like, well, we all fought together. Now we're all going to go our separate ways and live our best life. Goodbye. That's the MCU, man. I figured it. I'm sorry. Scroll down. Hi, chat room. Okay. You don't bench someone with star power like Idris Elba like Thor did. I agree. Absolutely agree. And I always wondered, was it a conflict? Was he, because he did that other movie, and why did it just go out of my head that's based on a book? Dark Tower? Does that sound right? Whatever. I was wondering if he was filming that simultaneously, and that's why his role kept getting diminished. He just didn't have time, because he is very popular. I don't know if he was still filming his show Luther in the UK, because he was headlining that show as well, which is pretty much take House and make House a detective. And that's pretty much what that is. A very smart, very talented detective, but with a drinking and drug problem. He just seemed to have a lot going on. So I wonder if what really happened, because we think it's more of them just diminishing his role, and it might just be that he just didn't have time to have a bigger role. I don't know. That's what I want to think. I'm just trying to play devil's advocate. Was it just me, or did anyone else expect a third party to play out during WandaVision? Because I figured we get something out of Dottie and Arcana. I know. I really wanted her to be Arcana Jones. But that's what I said earlier. They put so many Easter eggs for things that did not come to fruition. None of it did. None of it did. I don't get it. And I really need to see, because I don't remember Arcana's kids. They have kids. I wanted to see if their daughter's name was Sarah. If she had a daughter named Sarah, Sarah Proctor was a resident of Westview who became Dottie Jones, but that's not. So in the comics, we know that Phil Jones is the husband of Arcana Jones. But the fact that she said her daughter's name was Sarah, and she was, Sarah Proctor was also another resident who became Dottie. That's interesting. That is really, really interesting. But I don't know why they didn't have a connection. It just seems like a missed opportunity. But that's the same thing I said about Grim Reaper. You had so many Grim Reaper clues in this. It was insane. I think they just did this to mess with us. I think they literally were like, what can we take out of these comics that they would recognize, that would make them have theories and go crazy on the internet, keeping involvement. It's great marketing. And then just not do any of it. Like, do any of it. Just make them all insane. We'll put Senor McScratchy in here, make you think it's Nicholas Scratch, make you think it could be, if not him, Ebony in a bunny form. Anything could be, Franklin Richards, could be, anybody, and then not do anything with that rabbit. And just like, he's just a rabbit. But is he? Just because they didn't resolve all this in this series doesn't mean that's what is actually happening. But yeah, it was a lot. It was a lot. Do you think that there are first interactions with the mutants we get in the MCU? Is that where we're going to see Captain Marvel get clapped by Rogue? I would love to see Rogue come in and drain. But they'd have to reinvent Rogue, because Anna Paquin's Rogue, I love the actress. I did not like her as Rogue. I'm sorry, I didn't. That was not my Rogue. It's just like Aurora Monroe. They did her wrong. Bryan Singer's an idiot. I really think they need to reinvent Rogue and then have the scene where Captain Marvel is on that ship for whatever reason and then gets drained and put in a coma. Will that happen? Probably not. Because then they'd have to establish the Brotherhood of Evil. And we'd have to have a new Mystique. And I don't know if they want to cast Jennifer Lawrence or do their own thing. I don't know. There's so many elements to that. But I would love to see that scene. Her taking Carol Danvers down. That would be interesting. Now, I'm not a Brie Larson hater. I don't have an opinion. I don't sway easily by what other people think and do. I basically make decisions for myself, which everybody should do through critical thinking. And I don't have a problem with some of the things that she said, and I don't care either way what people think about it. There were problems in the Captain Marvel movie, but I don't think that was Brie Larson's fault. I think that's more of a directing standpoint, writing standpoint, problem. But I do overall think she made a good Captain Marvel. And I do think she makes a good, Carol Danvers. And if you look at Carol Danvers in the comics, she has very problematic history. She was okay in her Spider-Man days, like when she was in the Spider-Man series in the comics. But when she branched out on her own, I mean, at some point, I will say the sexual assault part of Carol Danvers' storyline was very hard for me. And I don't like how any of that played out, like the incest, all that stuff. So she has a lot of issues in her storyline. So a lot of things I don't want them to include from Carol Danvers into the MCU. But it would be interesting to see her, if not drained by Rogue, at least give Rogue her flight and super strength ability. Because traditionally, the only power that Rogue had was be able to drain your essence, your powers, your life force from your body, take them into herself. And so, yeah. But I mean, for all we know, they may make Rogue drain somebody that's not Captain Marvel. It could be someone completely different, and that's how she gets her abilities. But not having Rogue have her abilities in the X-Men movies was very hard to watch. It's very hard to watch because I basically just thought she was essentially useless throughout the entire. And having her get her streak from Magneto in the first movie just was like, really? Yeah. There was an actress in this series, Angel, that I thought would make a great Rogue in the movies. Do you know who that was? Let me know who that is. Hi, Zachary. Captain Marvel Civil War 2 was bonkers, unhinged. Oh, yeah. Like I said, Captain Marvel, there are a lot of storylines I don't want Carol Danvers to have in the MCU. So please don't do them, because I feel like that would be a lot of it would be very problematic. Wolverine's actor must be 5'3" and hairy. Good luck. Like, there were a lot of actors out there that could do that, but I don't know. They don't seem to want to have a short Wolverine. I don't know what it is. They're probably going to bring Hugh Jackman back because that's what they're going to do. Because, I mean, he wasn't bad as Wolverine. And I kind of feel like he owns the image now. Didn't he patent his own image as Wolverine or Logan? I don't know. I have to go back and see. But if they bring him back, it's going to be hard to retcon the other X-Men because, I mean, we'll know unless they claim it's a different Earth of a different set of. This is complicated. You could have Hugh Jackman's Wolverine on another team of people we've never seen before from the original X-Men movies. Because look at Evan Peters. He was just Ralph. I just can't. I cannot. Yeah, Ralph, I already told you guys. Ralph Boner is not Ralph Boner. He is definitely the witness protection guy. I don't know what it is about him. And I still don't know how she gave him super speed. I guess she could have it's an illusion, but I don't know. I feel like there's something else going on with this whole Ralph Boner thing. I would not be surprised if we see Evan Peters again in the future in Secret Invasion or something else. But yeah, interesting. I think Hugh Jackman won't come back as the original Wolverine. I feel like his age is not going to fit the role anymore. He could come back as old man Logan. I don't know. I mean, he doesn't look older to me. He really doesn't. He doesn't look his age. Like look at me. See, you see, I have no wrinkles. I will be 45 in December. My daughter will be 25 in September. So I'm old, not old, but I am middle-aged. But I don't look middle-aged because stress keeps you young. So as long as he continues to stress out about his life, he won't age. So I could see him as Wolverine. And let's be clear, Wolverine does not look like a spring chicken in the comics. Like, even when he's young, he looks older than he actually is. And actually, he's supposed to be old, actually, because didn't he get his serum, right? The super soldier serum, like right after Captain America did. So that would make him really old. He just doesn't age like a normal human. But I don't know. I've always thought Wolverine always looked a lot older than he did. That's why when he was flirting with Jean, it kind of made me grossed out a little bit. But you know. The Illuminati. I like that name. Reported the mutants, but I take it with a grain of salt. The report was really misleading. They claim that it's official, but it's definitely not official. Huh. I haven't seen anybody's reviews. I'm gonna have to go back after this and look. Alexa Davalos. So you think? Okay, I'm gonna have to look at her picture because it's not clicking in my head. So I'm gonna have to go see what Alexa looks like. I think Nicholas Scratch getting the Salem treatment and seeing his characters to manipulate his mother for transforming into a pet. Because I remember that Witch Topaz had similar abilities. Yeah. Well, I remember Nicholas on to be a huge Fantastic Four villain. So that's why I was so keen on Franklin being on that milk carton because it would tie in. I don't know. Like I said, missed opportunities. It was reported that Marvel has greenlit an X-Men movie called The Mutants. So that's what everyone's talking about, The Mutants. I mean, it could happen. I mean, they seem to be putting a lot of like foresight in how they're doing their timeline. Like, yeah, we can deal with phase 4 or phase 5. They could be all the way up to phase 7 or 8. We have no idea. They're trying to keep this money chain going. So more than likely, everything we're getting now was in the process in 2013, or right when Kevin finally joined, basically took over. That's all could have been in the works, even, from day one with him. We don't know. We don't know the timeline. So that's what gives us like all the cool theory, videos that we get to do because we never know where they are in the process, which is, I'm okay with that. I am okay with that. So I'm not going to rule out the mutants, but I wouldn't be surprised if we don't hear about it for a year or 2 or 3. I know we are leading into Young Avengers. My brain is all over the place, guys. Young Avengers. So everything is pointing to us getting to that. Now, whether we do West Coast Avengers, I don't know. That would be interesting. But yeah, I am here for it. Do you think that we will see Nico or Tina Minora in the next Doctor Strange? Because I feel that Minora will take advantage of the situation in the shadows. I really want to because, as I said earlier, Nico in some versions of the comics is the adopted sister of America Chavez and also the adopted daughter of a female version of Loki. So that's a good way of putting her in. And another reason why America was banished, because that whole storyline was very, very cool to me. Now, whether they do that in Doctor Strange 2, like have maybe, because we don't know the story. But that would be very, very cool if she was actually part of that. Tina was actually in Doctor Strange when she was in the background. Fun fact. Yeah, they like to put a lot of people. I think on another one of the interviews, one of the live streams we did, Some people were talking about, it might have been you and other people talking about the fact that they saw Silk, Cindy Moon, in the first rebooted Spider-Man movie, Homecoming, I think it was called, in the background. And her name was Cindy. But I mean, I think they kind of do that. They like to troll us with background Easter egg characters that they'll recast and make somebody else. We'll get the actual character and be like, well, that wasn't that person. That was just a stand-in, because we just wanted to know that we knew who the character was, and that's why they're in the background. But yeah, they did this all through Wandavision. They put all these little wonderful Easter eggs in, put all these like comic book names in, just for townspeople that went nowhere. A lot of the Easter eggs went nowhere, but doesn't mean they won't. I'm just saying that it's just very, very interesting. Did you notice the Wizards of Oz Easter egg? Yes, I said that at the very beginning, right when she dropped the car and she went and looked and you saw the boots. I thought, yep, Wicked Witch of the East. Like, that's awesome. So that made Wanda Dorothy. She's not in Kansas anymore. That was very cool. Sony recently confirmed that they are moving forward with the Silk series. It's official. In case you want to know, I am so excited. I don't want the pheromone thing to play out. I think her and Peter being into each other is very problematic. I think someone pointed this out. It might have been Yito. It could have been you, Nicholas. It could have been somebody else. And another one, that the age difference between our current Peter Parker and who they would have to have as Silk, considering how long she was trapped or basically locked in that bunker, would be very disturbing. So it wouldn't be bad, but it would be interesting considering how old Peter is right now. So yeah, that would be weird. I like Carol and Wonder Man as a couple. Yeah, I would like to see Wonder Man. There's so many characters they can bring in. I still really am having hope with the Darkhold. If we have the Nightmare Realm, I really want to see Pathfinder. I really do. I don't know why. I would love to have tie-ins with Alpha Flight. I think that would be very cool. If you're going to establish mutants, you really have a plethora to choose from. I mean, you have X-Force, you have X-Factor, you have Uncanny, you have regular X-Men, you have Astonishing X-Men. There's so many different groups, Gen X, so many different groups that you actually could bring in. Would you bring the Krakoa versions of the mutants in? There's so much you can do. It just depends if they're doing the past, if they're doing their own thing. I mean, honestly, though, having a Krakoa version of mutants in the MCU would be very interesting. I would love to see how they pulled that off. If that is their introduction to mutants, that would be very cool. Actually, Dottie's name wasn't Sarah. Dottie's name was Sarah when Wanda called her Dottie. Okay. But no, what I was saying was she went by Sarah, and I thought Sarah in the comics was her daughter. Because remember, they had a daughter and a son. I'm going to have to go back and see. I thought it was interesting that they named her Sarah in WandaVision, and I thought Sarah was her child, one of her kids' names in the comic book. But it's been a minute. I just remember her having kids, and I didn't remember Phil being her husband. But I could be wrong. I am wrong a lot. But I thought that her daughter's name was Sarah in the comics. I was trying to find it, but I didn't see it. It was Yito, but I went in the depth as to how Peter was just being a hoe. And the pheromone thing was literally driving me up the wall. Yeah, I didn't like that. I do like her ability to cast webs. I like making her own organic webbing, kind of like Tobey Maguire, but cooler. But I had a problem. It was very weird just how into each other they were. I mean, it was kind of, I don't know. It's like they were both on ecstasy all the time. It's very strange. That's why I'm hoping MCU starts off in Krakoa. I would love that. That would be really cool. I would love to see how they pulled that off. Now, I think that's going to be after Secret Invasion, obviously. But yeah, I mean, I think we're getting Yelena and a bunch of other new characters for Secret Invasion. Secret Invasion is another one that I'm really looking forward to. They better not mess this up. But I'm going to miss the fact that we won't have Natasha just walking around shooting people. I'm like, are you real? Are you real? Because that's how I decide who's real or not. Just blow them away. Let's see. I'm so here for the X-Men. Yes, Kevin. So am I. It's been a long time coming. I want to have an X-Men live action variation that is done right. X-Men First Class wasn't bad. It wasn't, but I don't like how it tied in, and I didn't like how it basically made Mystique a hero when that's not how I've ever seen Mystique. I hate that we never have Raven in any of these, iterations. Whenever we have Mystique, normally Raven is like attached to the hip, and we never had that in the comics. I would love to have Raven introduced. Hellions movie. Wait. Oh, have a Hellions movie? Yes, especially with Quanin. I would love it. Quanin. Oh my gosh, I would love it. I would love it. You guys don't understand. So like as I've always told you guys in my reviews, one of my favorite DC characters is Lady Shiva, and her equivalent to me is Quanin in the Marvel universe. I just equate them as the same. I don't know why. I don't know what it is. It's just I just feel like they are similar, and they're very badass, and they're underplayed, and I need them to be validated. Like I'm tired of Psylocke getting Betsy Braddock getting like all of the glory and all of the notoriety, but then we don't have anything about Quanin. And the only reason that Betsy was even cool is because she was in Quanin's body and got to take on her, jitsu and assassin abilities, and, got better control over her abilities because of how disciplined Quanin was. It's like, I don't know. It just made me mad. I'm like, you literally became cooler because of another woman. And that other woman just happened to be Asian, and that all in itself was problematic, having because you basically whitewashed an Asian character. And what made me so annoyed is when people started getting upset when they made Quanin and Betsy go back to the original bodies, because then they were like, oh my God, they took a white character and they race bent this character. And I'm like, she was always Japanese. Elizabeth was the problem. Betsy was the problem. So I'm praying that we get a Quanin. If we do Hellions, please, please, Universe Cosmos, bring Quanin and bring a good Quanin. Don't bring her as Betsy. Betsy fans annoy me on the regular. Yeah. And I get that. So I know that, Betsy was Captain Britain before. I know this, especially when they had the UK equivalents of Marvel. So they had their own UK version of the Marvel comics. They did their whole run of Captain Britain, and they made her Captain Britain for a long time. I have no problem with that. But then she went from being Captain Britain to coming to the X-Men in the American version of Marvel, and then she was really useless for a very long time. And then she basically just sat in back with Cerebro and was doing field support from pretty much the Cerebral and the X-Men. She couldn't go anywhere. She didn't have any fighting skills. So she was very, very weak. And then she got a little bit of telepathy, so she got a little cooler. But it was not until she had her soul basically swapped with Quanin by Spiral that she got cooler. And I think that's when a lot of people actually started reading the comics a little bit after that. So they always thought that Betsy Braddock, which Braddock is not, I won't go there. They always thought that she was originally Japanese. Even when she would meet her twin brother, she would go to Excalibur and say twin, and they would say, they implied that obviously, how are you twins if one of you is Japanese and the other one is a white British guy? They still, for some reason, never got the memo that wasn't her real body. So I'm just amazed. I've always been amazed by that. Let's see. Trying to move up, guys. Sorry. I didn't understand the whole Mystique as X-Men either. Yeah, it just doesn't make any sense. I mean, I know that First Class is an alternate reality of other alter realities of X-Men, because let's be fair, there's so many. I never liked it. I never liked that storyline. I'm probably the only one who ships Captain Marvel with Thor. I would want to see how powerful a Kree human Asgardian hybrid would be, or even what that would look like. They kill each other. She'd kill him. He'd just drink. He'd be a couch potato again, just sitting there getting drunk, playing. What was he playing? I forgot what game he was playing. It wasn't Fallout. He was playing something, but he would just be sitting there as a couch potato playing video games because his woman is infinitely cooler than him. But Love and Thunder will be interesting too. Now we have Jane back, especially since they're keeping her cancer storyline. So I'm really curious to see how all that stuff plays out. But yeah, Carol and Thor would kill each other. Sorry. Trying to scroll up, guys. My theory is that the villain of CM2 will be a gender bent Janice Bell who will blame Carol for the death of her mom and will want revenge. I mean, could be. Could be. And I think Carol's got enough problems with Monica right now. The same thing. So a little off topic, dream casting. Who do you think would make a live action Korra? There is a fan short film of Legend of Korra that's currently on YouTube. And if you ever watch Power Rangers, I'm trying to get her name, Unworthy, I did a interview with the creator and then the actor who plays Billy and the writer for Power Rangers Unworthy, but she was in the cast as Tommy, the Green Ranger. And I loved her as Korra because there's not a lot. I mean, it's not hard to find in Legend of Korra fan film on YouTube. You'll see who I'm talking about. But this girl, her name is Angela something. I'm trying to get it. I'm sorry. I really think this girl would be awesome. She also has Angela Jordan is her name. If you go to Instagram, she also has an Instagram where she demonstrates all her martial arts and stuff. I'm plugging this girl right now because, I thought when she played Korra, she was very good as Korra. And I don't know. I just really feel like she would be a very good live action version. She is, I want to say Filipino in real life. But she could be Thai. Please don't hate me on that because I don't know. She's either Filipino or Thai, and she's from New York, I think. But she was the Green Ranger. She played Tommy, the Green Ranger, in Power Rangers Unworthy. So if you haven't seen that, you can see her. But I think she'd be an excellent Korra. I don't want them to cast like somebody who's well known as Korra. I want them to do some like a smaller actress like that and build her because I think she was really good. After casting Halle Berry, what they did with Storm is really disappointing. Yeah, I hated that her accent kept going away too. Like she literally, she was like, it's like I was African for 5 minutes and now I'm not. I also, in my mind, I don't know, she's pretty old now or older. I don't want to say old, but David Bowie's wife, Iman, the model, always looked like a Roro to me. And Naomi, is it Naomi? Naomi, what is Naomi's name? Oh, I don't know. Model, is it Naomi Campbell? Naomi Campbell also would have been a very good rogue. Even Rihanna to me would be pretty good as a Roro. And it's not because they're African. I just think the look, they could do the looks. Like Rihanna looks really good with light colored hair. But I will say a lot of people will probably get upset because she's lighter. And as somebody who is ambiguous and mixed, biracial, half black, I know if I was cast as a Rowa Monroe, even though I'm half black, people would be like, what in the F is wrong with you? And I actually couldn't argue that fact because I am also part, my mother was Scottish. So colonizer, it's like me and Wakanda wouldn't go well. Like I go to Wakanda and be like, nope, you're the after effect. I'm like, so we all know that Wakanda would let me visit, but I was not a member. But they did let Bucky in, so I guess I'd be a little offended by that. But yeah, I could never say Wakanda is my home because look at me. So I don't know, but I really think Amon probably or Naomi Campbell would be very good. If they're age, I don't know how old Naomi Campbell is, but depending on what age they were trying to go for Storm, if they were trying to go younger, then yeah, that probably would not work. Aisha D is my favorite for Storm. Some people have told me that I need to look at that. Aisha D. I need to see what she looks like. Aisha D. Oh no. Nope. Because see, she'd have the same. Hold on, let me click on this so we can look at this picture, guys. Can I go to it? Open image in new window. So I'm going to share this screen so you can see why that to me would be problematic and you would be really setting this girl up a lot. Let me see if I can do it this way. I'm going to share this and then pump it on here. Hopefully you guys can see this screen. I don't know. Maybe. Sorry, my sharing my screen thing. Hold on, I know what I need to do. I'm going to open another window. But I'm going to show you why this would not work. And it would not work. You already know you were setting this girl up to be attacked on the internet. You know this. And it's got nothing to do with her acting skills and everything. Here we go. This is her. Look at her skin color. Look at my skin color. She's not that much darker than me. Like, she's a shade off maybe, and I'm really yellow. If you cast this girl, and I know who she is, she's in this show, The Bold Type. She is half black and half white, like me. You are going to get her attacked on Twitter and on everything else, because when you are an ambiguous biracial, because if you look at her, she could be Puerto Rican, she could be anything, and you're casting her as a traditionally, African dark-skinned goddess, you are just opening up a can of whoop-a from everybody on the internet. And that poor girl does not deserve this, because she'd just be taking a job. So no, I do not think, even though I understand she's a great actress and she'd be awesome in the role, as effed up as this is to say, she's not dark enough. She's not. And I'm telling the truth. For a fact, 1 trillion%. Look at the young girl, the 14-year-old they got cast as America Chavez. They were on that, not just because of her age, but because she wasn't dark enough to play the role. And she actually is Hispanic. So imagine having a half white, half black actress playing a, traditionally fully African, dark-skinned, beautiful person like Aurora Monroe, and not getting shit on the internet. She'd be creamed. They would kill her. I'm just putting it out there. So no, I understand where you're coming from, but no, we need to protect your Aisha D from death because people get passionate about their nerddom. They get passionate and they're not nice. So no. Stop that ship before it sails. And that's unfortunate that people will react that way, because she could be a good interpretation. People are unfair. I mean, so you got to look at it from this perspective. As people of color, we know this. There's not a lot of representation for really dark-skinned actresses. I love the actress they have for Monica Rambeau. For some reason, her name just went out of my head and I knew it. But they don't have the representation in media that they normally would, because to play devil's advocate, as much as I get upset about being, told that I can't claim my blackness, I don't have a voice in Black culture because of how I look, and because I look like I could be another race, I don't know the struggle, blah, 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 which on some levels is true. I will never be pulled over for being Black. I will be pulled over for being Hispanic. I will say that because it has happened, and I'm not Hispanic. I am mistaken for other races. But my version of discrimination is not somebody who is traditionally looks Black, completely Black. So when you have an actress, or you have a character, should I say, like Aurora Monroe, who is dark skinned, who is literally my goddess, Lupita Nyong'o's color, you want Lupita Nyong'o to get that role. You want her to shine in that role, even though as half Black, people, we feel like we have the right to also claim our Blackness. But because of how Hollywood is, the peaks whitewashing. I mean, they whitewash everything. It's such a horrible thing that Hollywood has set this precedent that makes people upset automatically. So like, if I was a darker skinned actress and then somebody my color or Aisha D's color got this role, my mind would say, oh, I am not Black, and I'm too Black to play this Black person. The same thing happened in the Asian world. Look at Bruce Lee. Bruce Lee wrote the concept for Kung Fu. They cast David Carradine because they told Bruce Lee he was too Asian to play an Asian man walking around trying to help people in the Kung Fu series. That is Hollywood. Hollywood has done this. So that's why I don't get 100% angry about it, because I get where all of this comes from. It comes from an unfair system to begin with. So that's what it is. So yeah, Aisha D would make an awesome character. I think she's capable. I'm absolutely 100% convinced she could play a very good, Storm in scope, but visually she would not be accepted because this is what Hollywood has done. And had they made characters, and just not just Hollywood, like media, if we had comic book characters that started off, we had a lot more Black representation, a lot more Asian, a lot more Hispanic, a lot across the board, we wouldn't be having these conversations. This would not be an issue because we would have enough characters to go around. But we don't. That's why race bending occurs. It's not because we want to cast this character as Black or Asian or Hispanic. It's because there was not an equality character, or a golden age character that we could have. So Lex Luthor being Black, or Captain Luthor and Superman and Lois, everyone's like, oh my God. But I'm like, listen, Lex could not be Black when this came out in the 40s, 50s, 60s, 70s. That wasn't a concept. You had token characters that would come in and out of the comics, and people were like, yay, representation. We got that one character. Well, that doesn't fly in 2021. So now you got to make characters that were never there to begin with. So I'm on my soapbox, guys. It's just what it is. So that's why that stuff won't fly. Just it is. And I hate it. I hate that the world is like this, but it is. And we just need to fix it. And we got a long road ahead, because this last, what happened at the Capitol and all this other crap has shown me that we are a long way from where we need to be in this country, especially. If she wouldn't be Storm, who else would she be? Daniela, Luke Cage, and Jessica Jones' daughter. I know my biracials, because there's not a lot. So I could see her playing that character. I could see her being Luke Cage's daughter. And in some versions she has powers, and some versions she doesn't. So, just really depends. So that would be one that I would cast her as. You got to be careful, because biracial representation isn't large, prevalent in the comic universe. So you have to find something that people won't bitch about. And casting a biracial as a biracial, or with a biracial, kind of seems safe to me. Like, honestly, looking at me, as much as I love Charmed, and that I am not Hispanic, I kind of feel like, and this is something I've been struggling with. Macy's actress and Maggie's actress in real life are not Latinx, they're not Latinx, they're not Hispanic. They have nothing in the culture of being Hispanic in their heritage. Sarah Jaffe is like me, Native American, Black, and white. And then you have Macy, who I think is Nigerian, British, and white. None of that equates to Latin or Latinx, but they are playing half Latinx characters. And what's interesting for me is, and I'm not trying to put any controversy out here, I'm just speaking as a biracial. If I did that, I really feel like I would be performing racial appropriation, because I'm taking on a culture that is not mine, even though I'm an actress and I'm being played to play this role. And I know that they cast people from, Chinese descent as Japanese characters. They have Hispanic playing Native Americans. I understand what happens. But the entire series is supposed to be representation for Latina X. And the only Latina you have in the series is Mel's actress, Melanie Diaz. I don't understand why they thought that was okay. I could see, and to be fair, I know that the characters of Macy and Maggie are both playing half Black, but they are playing a culture that is not theirs. And that's kind of like essentially problematic. I love the show. I love the characters, but me personally, as someone who is an actress and who's a voice actress, it's really hard for me to take on a nationality that it's not mine. So yeah. Like I said, all of this stuff in Hollywood, all of this, it forms a lot of problematic things. And the reason that we as nerds accept stuff is we don't put too much thought in it, because it'll make us angry. Or, like with Charmed, I generally enjoy the reboot. I really think that, Sarah Jaffe and Madeline Montauk are both beautiful and talented actresses. So I just accept the fact that they are playing half, Latinx women that are not actually Latinx in real life. So, yeah, that's where we are. Do you think we can get our girl Emerald Tobia, who played Isabel in Shadowhunters, to play the Hellfire Squad's Black Queen? That would be cool. That would be cool. I would be down with that. I honestly thought she was in the running to be Maggie in the Charmed reboot. Imagine if she had been, because she'd be a really good Maggie too. because she played her like Isabel, and I would have no problem with that. Let's see. No, that show really did the Latino dirty. And as much as I like the show, I totally understand the criticism and agree. Yeah, it's hard. It's hard not to agree with that because, like I said, as somebody who's half black, we get upset when somebody whitewashes a character, or heck, even if another culture does, like the Avatar movie, that was ridiculous. That is ridiculous. You mean to tell me a man from India, a minority, a man of color, thought it was cool to cast two whole white people as like a kind of indigenous equivalent to an Eskimonian type, race in the Avatar, and literally thought that was okay. Literally was like, yeah, that's cool. Wasn't even a white man who did it. M. Night, I call him Shut Me Down, thought that was a good idea. So when the whitewashing happens within your own minority circle, it's hard. So yeah, so looking at Charmed, I mean, we're so used to it now. We're just used to it. It's like, I wouldn't be surprised if the new Avatar live action series that they were talking about on Netflix, if the reason that the creators walked away is because they were repeating that same cycle of whitewashing. We don't know. We don't know. My Fate Winx Saga review that's coming up, guys. I know we're getting off topic a little bit, but I can't argue that they did not whitewash that series. For me to enjoy that series, I created a multiverse. And I said this in my review. I literally created a different universe where these were different characters and different backstories, because essentially that's what they did. They gave them different, like their storylines in the actual cartoon are vastly different, with slight similarities in terms of names and a little bit of possibly Bloom's backstory, but everything else was reinvented. So it's a different universe. And I had to do it that way because, yes, having Tara replace Flora and making Flora just a cousin who is a Hispanic, character based on, Jennifer Lopez, having Musa, who is supposed to be based off of Lucy Liu. You cannot get more Chinese than Lucy Liu, being played by a girl who I think is 1/4 Singaporean and then has Russian and whatever, all the other nationalities, and she didn't look white, but she didn't look Asian at all. So that is your Asian representation just ripped away. So like, that is problematic as hell. And the fact that they were okay with that is problematic as hell. But for me, I had to make it a multiverse show. So this is what I called Fate Winx Saga Planet X. That's literally what I did to enjoy the show. So I did like it, guys. Spoiler alert. I like the show for what it is, but I get why people are upset about it. I do, because I see it. They whitewashed the hell out of that series. And that's truth. And you can't see that for anything else that it is. Let's see. Could you say it's not, though, if she grew up in a Latina household, if she was raised on that culture? I know who I'm Middle Eastern, and it's not my place to say. Did I miss something? Oh, do you mean, what do you mean? Can you expand on that? Are you saying like Maggie and Macy? Is that what you're talking about? Because I'll say, if you're talking about being raised in a culture that's not your own, that's why a lot of people have a lot of hate for America Chavez, because she was saved by, or she was found by an older Hispanic lady and raised in a Hispanic neighborhood, Hispanic culture, hence why she speaks Spanish. Because nobody in the Utopian Parallel was running around speaking Spanish that I remember. It would be cool to have an entire world full of Hispanic people. That would be awesome. But that's not how I think she got her Spanish roots. I think that all came from the adopted family that she, was found by and raised by. And a lot of people in the comic world, a lot of comic nerds are like, not only is she OP, she is a, product of cultural appropriation. So, I mean, I don't know. I'm talking about Maggie in canon, not the actress. So let me go back. Can you say that it's not hers, though, if she grew up in a Latina household, if she was raised on that culture? I don't know. Okay, so the problem I have with that is that Marisol is supposed to be her mother, and her mother is, or was, since she's passed, Hispanic. She looks completely Hispanic. Her actress is Latina. So if that is your mother, then essentially your character is mixed. So she could be I guess she'd be Afro-Puerto Rican. I think they're Puerto Rican. But she would be half black, half Puerto Rican. You cannot take the Latin X away. It's the problem I have with people with Miles Morales, always just harping on one side of his nationality. Yes, it's awesome that we have a character that is now a Black Spider-Man, but you cannot take away the fact that he is also half Hispanic, because he is. His mother, I think, she's full Puerto Rican, I believe, if I remember her nationality correctly. But I know she's Puerto Rican or she's some form of Hispanic. So he is essentially mixed. And so for me, he is the first, I'm claiming him. He is the first mixed Spider-Man. I've always said that. See, when we get into these lines, it's very hard. I mean, even to Obama's the first Black president, but his mama was as white as mine. So, it's just what it is. It's all in how we see, perception. It's what it is. I've had people on my channel, from both sides of the coin telling me I don't have the right to talk about anything Black. I obviously don't want anything European because I look like this and I'm mixed. So I just should be quiet. And so unfortunately, that is a problem in this country, but we have a lot of race problems. It's just across the line, guys. It's across the line. So yeah, when we start talking about this, it gets political and people get in their feelings, and you know how that goes. And I'm too old to deal with that shit. I come at me and then shut up. That's how I look at that. Let's see. Since Black Lightning is just about done with its final season, do you think Marvel can steal the good sister and Nefessa Williams to play him on it? Oh, say Cruz. Yes, because I would love to see Sync. I would love that. That would be so cool. She would be really good too. I wonder, but I don't know if her role, if Thunder is going to be on the outs, because we do have Painkiller. We don't know. They may roll her over to that series with Grace. Never know. When I first found you on Eloy's channel, I thought you were Asian. No offense. There's no offense taken. Okay, so guys, we are all products of our genetics. Okay, I say this all the time. Nobody is fool anything. I did my 23andMe. I found out I had Central Asian in me. I have Eastern Asian in me. I have. I even have a tiny bit of Iberian, which is Southern European, which means someone from Portugal or someone from Spain in my lineage. Now, that might be what contributed to this. But being as mixed as I am, who the hell knows? So I am never offended. I love different cultures. My spouse is Korean American. My daughter is half Vietnamese. I have no problem with that at all. It's just when you want, so like with Eloy, when you look at Eloy, do you think he's completely Hispanic? Because people will be shocked to know that he's Black. So there's a lot to perception. And that's what I say when people look at me, I understand that they don't know what I am. I'm ambiguous looking. I have yellow skin. My skin is actually darker because of these lights, but I have a running joke. If you've ever seen me on Blur Without Fear's channel, I always say that I look like I have jaundice. It's because I have yellow undertones and overtones in my skin. So people don't know what I am. They have a lot of problems trying to figure it out. When I have naturally curly hair, people think I'm every form of Hispanic or Eastern African. I get it all the time. When my hair is straight, I get everything across the board. I get Filipino. I get a lot. I get Filipino a lot by other Filipinos. I get I've had every form. I've had somebody even asked me if I was Hawaiian. I was in Hawaii at a luau with my spouse, and one of the dancers, and I have a picture of him with me, if you follow me on Facebook, literally thought I was an islander. And that's cool. But now I'm like, yeah. Yeah, Eloy is he identifies as Black. Now I don't know if he's mixed. He may have Hispanic in him. I have to go back and talk, but I know we definitely talked about the fact that he's Black. So yeah. Kevin, we come in all shades. But yeah, there's a lot to this whole race ambiguousness amongst all people that I don't even want to say mixed. There are a lot of people that I know who both of their parents are Black and they can come out lighter than me. I mean, it's just genetics, guys. It is what it is. At least they addressed in canon instead of pretending it doesn't exist. I mean, the Transformation was an ancient magic was lost to them. Brian Young was a showrunner on the Vampire Diaries. Yeah. He always looks more Black to me. I never saw him as Hispanic. Are you talking about Eloy? Yeah. Eloy is like I said, guys, you just don't know who people are. Tara was written as Flora, but when the controversy started, they changed her name and said she was her cousin. Yeah, I know. Like I said, that whole thing was problematic, but it doesn't take away from the plot, because I feel like the plot was very well executed. I don't want to spoil my review, guys. I'm working on fixing that rendering problem. I promise you I am. It will be out. Eloy is the turnout, the person I do a lot of collaborations with. Hello, Stanthim. You know I butcher names, guys. Let's see. Serenity. That is a whack excuse for me. I came for wings and magic, not a super subpar teen drama. Serenity. Okay, let me scroll up. Scroll up. Yeah, we've been going it for 2 hours, guys. We're gonna have to we're actually we have too much fun in our comment section. I'm gonna have to cut us off pretty soon. But yeah, overall though, let's get back to our original discussion. Theories. You know I love theories, even though this show has proven to us that sometimes theories aren't always a good idea. What do you think is going to happen next? I told you what I think. Like multiple, because I've just created different multiple verses just through my theories, so they can go either way. But what do you think all of WandaVision has led to? I really want to know. So please leave me a comment, guys, because I'm curious. And also, who do you want character-wise to come out of all of this? Definitely put that in the comments, because I really want to know. There's so many. It's so much. Like, I'm rooting for the Illuminati, guys, but let me know what you guys think. And yeah, we have way too much fun in our comment section, guys. 2-hour stream. Everybody that comes after us is going to be like, what? When is this going to end? Like, that's my fault. I enjoy you guys tremendously. So if I do my membership stuff, guys, we may have to do just like a let's chat type live stream for members, where we just spend all of our time talking about whatever. Because yeah. It's weird I don't like Wanda, but I love the series. I don't like Wanda either, and I love the series. So me and you are actually 100% on board with that. Hi, Black Culture. I love that you just showed up and we're about to close out, because it's been over 2 hours. I've been letting this run a long time, but you guys have very good questions and statements, so that's on me. And then I do like the fact that Coco Jones could be Astrid Bloom. I don't know about Sierra McLean, because I have to go look at that, but I could see Coco Jones as Astrid Bloom. So we are on the same page here. And let's see, Ludi Lynn as Nomar and Zachary Quinto as Grim Reaper. I can see Zachary as everybody, because I loved him in Heroes and I love him as Spock. So we are on the same page. All right, guys, please, if you just got here, rewind. You're in for a great time. we got our point a little bit, but we got all of our main points at the beginning. I think the first hour of this stream. And then the second, we just got to talk about whatever. And you know I like to talk. I'm a Sagittarius. So yeah, check that out. Again, put your theories below, what you think is going to happen going forward, not only in Doctor Strange 2, but in all the other MCU shows like She-Hulk. I think Falcon and Winter Soldier is coming up next. Also, how this is going to tie into that. You know, how is it going to, we know how it's going to affect Spider-Man. I think the multiverse is all a reaction or effect of that, but just how is it going to affect everything else? Do you think that WandaVision has a direct impact on Falcon and Winter Soldier? I really want to know. I want to know if the timelines are similar too. So just let me know what you think. What do you think is going to happen now that this series has ended? What you thought about it, what you wish could have changed, what you would have done. Just let me know. You know, I like to talk. You know, I love to answer your questions and respond to your theories. So yes, but now I'm going to let you guys go. I'm going to go and I guess eat lunch, because I didn't realize just how late it is. And I will try my best, guys. I will try my best to get this rendering issue for Fate Winx Saga fixed, because I don't know what the heck it is, but it is freezing and I need to get it fixed. And be on the lookout. I will be doing my Raya and the Last Dragon non-spoiler review, because I want to give people a chance to watch it. So I will give you my opinion on it without spoiling anything. But I love you guys. Have a good day, and I will talk to you and see you later.